Ladies and gentlemen, the internet is dead. Long live the internet. Yeah, actually, it sucks. I mean, it used to be cool, like I did. Chris and I used to be cool. I have Chris Masimore with us. We used to be guys in a rock and roll band. Now we're just guys that work at the same day job, but are starting a hillbilly rock and roll hobo blues band thing. Which
it was the only right thing to do.
We just have to. You hit a certain age, and it's like you either have to like get way into the Civil War or start playing like ragtime piano and slide guitars and be like, or whatever. And I think we made the right choice because, you can't talk about the Civil War now because if you try to Google it, all you're going to find is things about the bad movie that came out or the real one that a bunch of idiots think is going to happen. Not realizing that their Medicare checks are not going to show up if there's a civil war in the country. But
it makes me sad because I was literally always just hoping that it would happen when I was too old to care or dead, but I'm not so sure now.
Yeah, it's like I don't want to. The thing is everybody. You're like, oh, thank goodness I'm too old to get involved. And it's like, I think you're going to be involved in their, like, the supply chains going down. And, like, I pointed this out forever, and I'm not alone, where COVID happens, the grid stubbed its pinky toe. And suddenly there was no toilet paper or water or gas or anything. It's like, you think that, like, either, like, if like, Texas leaves and good riddance or whatever, it's like, you're just like, they're just going to be, in, like, 1 week, they're just going to be owned by Mexican drug cartels. Like, it'd be like, the minute, and then everybody's like, well, why the hell aren't I getting my fucking Social Security anymore? And it's like, you left the federal government. Like, where is that check coming from? Or the fact that, like, your goddamn power bill actually subsidizes the fucked up, deregulated Texas power grid, where it's like, we are paying more right now for that because of them. Like, just so everybody knows that. Like, that's a thing that I don't love, and you can't just check a box that says, like, no, I would prefer they froze to death this year, particularly because of their policies, and also, they get to go, hey, keep your hands off of us, federal government. And it's just like, and they're like, okay, but the only reason we're doing okay is that we're, like, overtaxing John. It's like, don't I get to wear a t-shirt about that? Oh, we're all too nice to do that up here.
Yeah.
And I guess so.
Didn't Uncle Donnie say he's going to eliminate the income tax?
Yeah, he did. That's a real good...
Which also may eventually make your Social Security check not show up.
Yeah, in about 4 weeks, I think. Like, because his idea of getting rid of income tax. Stop cheering. Hang on. And then just filling it in by just putting giant tariffs on all trade and stuff. Like, oh yeah, I'm going for like an all-time record of overflowing that thing. It's an ashtray for those that can't see, but yeah, like that would basically collapse the economy. Like, there's people on our conservative, like the Reddit's like super conservative thing that are like, yeah, that actually would wreck everything. But then there's just enough people that don't read or use the internet or the bathroom inside or whatever that'll just be like, why? Yeah, the income tax. But it's like, if you're like a poor person, like your income tax is very low. But if you're like a pretty rich person, you're like, oh, sweet, no income tax. I'm like twice as rich now. Oh, all these products from other countries and all this other shit is like super expensive, but now I can afford it. But guess who can't? Everyone who is already like kind of below middle class. So it's like, not only would it eventually collapse the economy, the first step towards that collapse is right into your fat, poor face. Like, and it's like, there's like everything about that is bad. And that's like a real plan that everyone, and of course, like all the other like, rich people in this guy's orbit are like, yeah, let's do that. Because they're a little short-sighted because they're kind of like a quarter at a time. Who cares? Like in the words of Dick Jones, spare parts for 25 years. Who cares if it doesn't work?
Well, I wonder if the reason it's so intoxicating for people is because, and I'm not saying this is or isn't true, but there's this narrative for a long time that the billionaire class and the, upper 1% of the 1% doesn't pay taxes. Which a lot of
they're supposed to, but they don't. And I'll tell you exactly how you can avoid it if you're a billionaire. But you already know if you're watching this.
No,
I know Elon Musk is a big fan. He tried to buy the podcast, but I told him he'd have to do it, though. I was like, I'm going to leave then, though. And then you'll have to sit here and smoke fake cigarettes and talk to Chris. Like, I don't know if you want to spend an hour a week doing that. I like to.
Yeah.
But I'm taking that money and running.
I mean, he's...
I'm sorry, I interrupted your point like horribly with my thing I said that's for sure true, but...
No, I was just going to say, I mean, there is some truth to, I'm sure, the billionaire class hiding money offshore. Also, another big tool I think they use is living off of debt, essentially.
Yep, living off of debt's but you don't even have to go offshore like
so you don't
anymore.
have to pay tax on debt, so if you just take out a business loan of, you know, for argument's sake, $10 million, and then just pay yourself X amount of salary with that and do whatever with the rest, and then you lived off that and you never paid taxes, and the little bit that you did actually get paid, you then paid yourself at, you know, your business headquarters in Puerto Rico or somewhere that, you know, you can...
Yeah, that actually is...
Money. But the point being, not to cut you off, but I wonder if that's why, for the little guy, when Trump says that, it's so intoxicating, not because it's real or because it won't tank the economy, because it's like, well, I'm sick of these fucking people never paying taxes, so I guess I don't want to either, you know?
You are giving those people way too much. They're like, they don't care that other people aren't. They're like, you mean I get $25 more a year? Hell yeah! Like,
I was trying to just olive branch and
everybody's just like, oh, income tax. That's the word in the pile of bad word pile. Like,
I can still see
get rid
a
of
lot
that.
of people that, you know, will,
because all that money just goes to helping black people eat food. Fuck that. You know, it's like no one cares. Like, they don't, it's like, except for the fact that it's just like, this road sucks now. It's like, yeah, you don't pay taxes anymore. Like, what the fuck do you expect? Who's fixing that shit for free? Like Oscar the Grouch? Like, it's not a, that doesn't make any sense. I don't know, whatever. Like, getting to that point.
I don't know. But, I mean, the government does, there's probably some fat that could be trimmed.
They're all, yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not even saying trim the fat and, like, give it back to everybody, but I sometimes the
use
bigger
it
thing
better.
That's the thing that actually really more pisses me off about the mismanagement of government money is that, like, we have, like, all these homeless people and, like, people on like people that need help that somehow can never fucking get it, but we overpaid for this no bid contract and we're spending, you know, $10 million on this absurd thing over here, and we're giving, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars in bombs to pick a country.
Yeah, we're spreading those bombs around, baby.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's you know, and that's the thing. They don't give you a checkbox where you're like, I would rather be able to afford to go to the dentist with this money than having it used to turn people at an Iranian wedding into skeletons. It's like, I understand that they're plotting against America, but by that I think you mean a oil pipeline that is in another country and not really like they're coming to my house. You know what I mean? It's like, well, we had to blow them up because, you know.
Did I tell you about the poppy field they had next door too?
Oh, those are, yeah. Yeah, gosh, where did the opioid crisis even come from? It's like, you know, that is, God.
Definitely not
Afghani poppy fields. No! And then now we pulled out a little bit after they finally stopped prescribing it. You know, Jake and everybody, like, you know, 50 million Dilaudid a day because their, you know, knees hurt or whatever. It's like, and now actually if you do hurt, they won't give you anything, which means it's so restricted. It's like, yeah, and then that, you know, it's funny, I've never brought it up on here before, and I don't know if I've heard a ton of people bring it up, but it's like, a lot of the thing was poppy fields in Afghanistan, and that's where you have to. It's not the fucking opiate pills or whatever that people get at the doctor aren't made of plastic. Like, you have to make them out of real, like, morphine derivatives from the actual plants and stuff like that. And those were all. There's huge ones over there that are totally deregulated because of, like, you know, just occupying this other country. Now, like, they cut to a fraction the amount. You know, they don't prescribe anybody Vicodin anymore, like anything. It's all gone. And then all that shit happened, and like 2 years later, we're like, well, you know, there's nothing left to do here in Afghanistan. And that's a fucking coincidence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think all this is just, it shows like what I don't know the right adjective, but like, insert adjective con man that Trump is. And we talked about this before, that like somehow the guy that is just the richest guy that's had that position in a long time, and just has never, ever been about anything other than pissing in the little guy's mouth. Yeah. Has just convinced all the little guys that, like, I'm the guy for you. And I do wonder if there is just some, you know, visceral reaction of, like, I'm so sick of, for instance, the Sackler family that is paying for all this opioid crisis, and it's like they're gonna be theoretically more rich when they're done paying their fines than they were before they got fined.
Yeah.
And I think
a lot of big businesses just, I mean, even perhaps smaller ones that we're somewhat familiar with are like, we make more money doing this anyway and just paying the fines.
But I think
and that's a huge thing everywhere.
I don't know. I do wonder though if there are just like some of why Trump is able to tap into that is just the, that idea of like, I'm so sick of watching all these people get fucking rich and I'm getting poorer, and it couldn't possibly be because I wasted my life, or like,
or because every single time there's an opportunity to vote for something, someone comes along like Reagan and goes like, hey, you don't want the government in your face, do you? It's like, hell no. It's like, that's right. So we're going to get rid of the FDA and all of these watchdog groups and all this regulation and stuff. And it's like, that way, your company that involves a tractor or something, you're never going to have to deal with all these regulations. And also, here's the quiet part, all the people that would gladly just fuck you in the ass and take all of your money away forever and poison you will have no regulation stopping them from doing that either. Anyways, you don't want the government telling you what to do. Yeah, that other part was kind of long. So, let's vote for that. Let's just get rid of all this bullshit regulation. And it's like, oh, I'm not rich because there's like immigrants or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's actually because like, there's like nothing stopping monopolies from just taking over the point where it's like, well, you can't compete with Walmart, but you're allowed to work there for as little as we'll legally pay you. How about that? It's like, well, that's probably because of Biden. It's like, that was because of the way your like dad voted like 50 years ago. And it's like, we just have all.
Yeah.
But that's always how they get everybody. They're like, hey.
Is that innate in human nature though? Like, I've always wondered philosophically, is there a level of free market capitalism that you can have that doesn't eventually turn into corporatism? Or is corporatism an inevitability of capitalism because humans are just generally pieces of shit?
The problem is, and I think that I said this to you on the bus once years ago, and it's that if somehow or another you could just make sure that the only thing, like a giant rock that a lighthouse is on in a raging storm or whatever, the one thing is that like, well, we never just completely decimate the education system. Like people, like everyone's always going to get this like Northern European education about how everything actually works. Then the rest of it, you can kind of have free market capitalism, but it's like no one's ever going to go, so we're going to like, you won't have to pay taxes anymore. And we're just going to stop fixing the roads and you don't get healthcare or whatever. And when you retire, you just have to like run from hyenas until you're too tired and then they just eat you. Is that cool? And everyone would be like, yeah, we actually learned in school that that's like a terrible idea that just gives all the power to the rich people. So no, like we're not going to do that. And when that happens, here we go. Okay, we hear you. Let's get rid of school, though, so this never happens again. And it's like, that is where it's an inevitability. It's like, and because nothing is that lighthouse on a rock. Everything can get eroded. But if people were smart enough to be like, yeah, we have capitalism, we trade things, we do stuff, we trade with other countries. Because again, when the bread stops crossing borders, that's what soldiers do. You want, everything's like working or whatever. But that vampire squid capitalism that we have where it's like, okay, like there's like one company like in Aliens. It's also indistinguishable from the military and the government. And like, it just tells you what to do, and you're like, I'm going to start my own business. It's like, nope, we're just going to open this door, and you're going to blow into outer space. Who else wants to start their own business? Like, it would never get to that. And by the way, at a certain point, no matter how educated everybody is, it starts being like, technically, like, if everyone started understanding way more about, like, civics class type of stuff all of a sudden right now, you could still kind of be like, whoa, I think this is just propaganda, and let's show up to these primaries, and let's vote in local stuff, and no. But instead, you just get people either voting for the most idiotic things ever, or not showing up because it's like, the left is pretty complicit in the whole Israel-Palestine thing, and it's like, okay, but then the right also will be, because it kind of goes way past that. That's just like an ancient, deep, that's like people you've never heard of are like in charge of deciding if that happens. And then also there's just going to be this like Handmaid's Tale Christo-fascist thing where no one's learning your pronouns, buddy. And you're just like, well, what if we firebomb a Walmart? It's like, that isn't going to do anything. It's like, at least vote and burn Walmart down, but don't just try to burn Walmart down. Also, you can't if you're grounded, because this is a very 15-year-old type of person opinion to have, and I'm calling you out. But yeah, as far as the rest of it, it's like, if everybody just was sort of immune to propaganda, it's like, I think I once said that if that happened, maybe society would collapse. Now I've realized it's like, all that would happen is there would only be some people that were kind of sort of really richer than other people, and not like, these people live under a bridge and this guy has more money than like all of the Egyptian pharaohs in history combined or whatever. Like, oh, we wouldn't have that anymore. And then again, you'll have another fucking 13-year-old libertarian or 40-year-old libertarian that sounds like a 13-year-old on the internet going, well, how will I become a billionaire with all these restrictions? And it's like, well, if that person went to school and school was good, they'd go like, oh, well, yes, I would just be under the jackboot of people who inherited all of their capital. Well, we shouldn't want to see that now, would we? And they would just go vote for whoever doesn't want to do that. And then shit like that just wouldn't propagate into this malignant fucking cancer that it is. Yeah. So to answer your question in a long, drunken, rambling, idiotic way, there's a way in which it wouldn't be inevitable if just for but a few things, but those things kind of don't happen, so I'm afraid that it is. That's kind of the end of that, unfortunately.
Oh, man. What a fucking system we live in.
Yeah, it's pretty dumb. The other thing, though, is still like, you and I, if you compare us to like literally most of the rest of the world in human history, are some of the richest people that have ever lived. Because it's like, we just bitch while we just go on vacations to Europe, just driving like cars and all that work. Yeah. Like Alexis and I each have kind of a nice car, and it's like, live in a house. It's like, well, it could be in a slightly nicer neighborhood, you know. And like, oh, yeah, I have to work a whole 40 hours a week, like answering emails and putting things on Instagram in order to do that. And I'm just like, fuck this system, man. This sucks. It's like, I could be spearing rats in a dump like barefoot right now for my family's dinner. And it's like, well, you know, it's like, I could have better healthcare, which I could. That, sure. Yes, that would be great. And the other thing is it's not just about me and you, because you and I's life does get better if there are like less people living in the streets. It's like, what if we want to go to a baseball game downtown and like not have someone push us into traffic? It's like, well, if a few things were actually run a little bit less terribly, that would literally never happen.
No, I think that's actually kind of what Northern Europe got right. And I mean, I'm actually going to Sweden in like a month, but point being is like,
I wasn't joking about the whole, we're going to be going to Portugal for like all of November. I wasn't joking about how our lives work, but we're still just regular people.
But
in a weird system.
Yeah, in fairness, I'm going to Sweden for a wedding, so.
Oh, well, of course. It's like, it's been almost a year since last time you were there.
Yeah. No, I've never been, Nick.
Oh, no, I know but your wife had gone.
But point being is that like people, like, I'm sure you could find somebody on Fox News that would talk to you about how it's like a, you know, Maoist communist hellhole or something in Northern Europe, like with all the...
Which...
It's absolutely not that.
That's a tough lie, too, because I'm like, everybody knows that it's not like that unless, you know...
But I think that...
unless you can count your teeth on one hand, you don't believe that shit.
No, and I think the thing that gets glossed over with a lot of that stuff is actually is a lot of what we were just talking about, where there is a lot of free market capitalism in those places. They just spend their money better.
It's people are, well, and the thing is I think it completely lines up. It's like the people there are generally better educated, and they have like more of a like, well, yeah, we don't want stupid shit that happens that's like bad. They like throw, where was it? Finland or whatever, where they were like, the people that like caused their banking crisis are all still doing fucking time right now. They're like, they just threw all of those people in jail. And we're just like, yeah, fuck you. Like, you don't get to do this here. And it's like, they're all just...
I think when we bailed out the Wall Street banks, they all did time on a yacht right after that.
Dude, we should have lined them up against a brick wall like Elliot Ness and just mowed them down with Tommy guns. Like, that's... I mean, like, if we did that to bootleggers in the 30s, like...
postcard out there and make them walk the plank.
Yeah, you could just be like... And even, you know, we're America, we're fun, you know? We're a game show, obviously. You know, it's like we film it and we're like, you're in international waters. It's like, all right, if you want to see a monkey knife fight or a donkey show, it's like, you know, yeah, tomorrow you are going to just step off this thing into shark-infested freezing waters. But it's like, we're going to let you go out with a bang and we're going to film it. We're also going to film you crying on the plane because you really thought maybe we'd change our mind at the last second.
Yeah.
But no, John got elected, or installed, probably slightly more likely after becoming a populist guy that has some things to say. And yeah, like, not only are we doing this, we're not hiding it because other people need to see. We need to see that it's just like, if you defraud the American people, like, you're going to die of lead poisoning and everyone's going to watch for free. Like,
it is weird that we do have this bad problem at, like, every level, from, like, local nonviolent drug offenses all the way up to, like, murder to the worst crime. It's like all the wrong people in this country go to jail.
That's exactly right.
A lot of them. I'm not saying nobody in jail doesn't deserve to be there. Like, I know that will always get taken out of context. But
oh yeah, watch a season or two of 60 Days In, and you'll start trying to be like empathetic, and then you'll be like, you should like, yeah. It's like, well, all I did with my boyfriend, I stole a car and I ran over the baby the people had, and I'm just stuck. It's bullshit. I'm talking to my, like, yeah, I did it, but like yeah, it's really unfair that, like, since heroin isn't free, you had to, like, murder someone else's family by negligence, and you had to be in jail for an entire month. Like, it's just fucking terrible. By the way, the person in this exact anecdote is white. They just talk like that because, of course, they do. But, like, this isn't what you might have thought it just was. That was definitely a really gross white chick that, like, on tour, any of us might look at twice. But in normal times, yeah, you're in jail for a reason. Oh no, it was a really good Mark Norman joke about he was like, talking about hooking up or whatever, and he was like, if you're a lady and you go home with a guy at a bar and you get to his apartment and you see he's got a bunch of Nazi memorabilia hanging up, you're like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, and as you should. And if you're a guy and you go home with a chick from a bar and she's got a bunch of Nazi memorabilia hanging up in her apartment, you're like, oh my God, I gotta fuck this chick and get out of here. Which is just thinking about the fucking ratchet psychos. That's like all these jail reality shows. It's just kind of like, all right, I mean, just once in the butt, but then I'm never talking to this bitch again. It's like, she's gonna wreck my life.
I guess too, I was talking very micro and very macro, but it does seem like in other countries, like, the real white collar crimes, actually go to prison, and, like, here that just never happens.
You don't just get, like, a bonus.
You always just get
like
the Enron guy that, like, dies peacefully in his bed of a whatever induced heart attack, but you know what I mean, I wonder if that, like, outside of violent revolution, that's one of the things that could actually start turning this country a little bit, is actually putting people in jail at that level. Yeah,
I think it's like, and I stand by this, and somewhat reverberating what I said earlier, is that, like, I think it's too late for jail. Like, I think just we'll get after some time, we'll get to a point where we just start putting people like that in jail. I think at first, when whatever happens, God willing, again, it's someone who I agree with having way too much power. It's like, we're going to have to, like, give them the fucking Viking blood eagle execute. It's like, that happens first.
Yeah.
And then after a while, it's just like, you just go to jail. Like, in 10 years, when we've straightened everything out a little bit by incredibly, like gladiatorial battles where people get, like your weapons are, like, made out of, like, shit we found in Chernobyl, and it's like you fight to the death, and then everyone else just slowly rots of radiation. Like, the worst shit I could think of just happens to you, and again on TV. Like, so everybody gets the knows the exact score. It's like that happens for, like, a little bit, and then it turns into a thing where people, at that point, as American and entitled and sociopathic as you might be, as, like, someone from an old money family, you might think twice.
Well, it just, God, we're so fucking stupid too, because, like,
here we are.
I was just gonna say, it's like Finland and, like, I think Iceland might have been one too a few years ago, where, like, some people from major, like, government-linked white-collar crimes went to actual prison. And it's like, every time that happens in other countries, it seems like everybody in society is like, fucking finally. And then here, it's like, because of the way we do it, it's like, and I'm not just ragging on Trump, but, like, gets 34 fucking felonies, and everybody's like, no, I mean, still gonna vote for him.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. Like I don't know why we're like it's weird that like everywhere else people are excited about it, and then here it's like we're almost like excited to let them get away with it.
And well, I think it's also because it's just too little, too late. It's like, again, as I've said, he's just a symptom anyway. He's like Project Mayhem. He's like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, you're going to, if you run things like as crooked as this is who you get. Yeah. Like, eventually, it's like, I'm not saying that he's great or I'm excusing anything, but I'm just like, yeah, this is like totally what was always going to happen if we kept running and everyone involved keeps running everything like this. And just that guy getting a bunch of felonies or whatever. It's like, well, okay, great. But like, did anyone from Goldman Sachs, get 34 felonies? And no, that's the thing. It's like, if they had gotten thrown in the goddamn paddy wagon in the first place, Trump would never have been we never would have been in a place where that even made any sense. It would be like, oh, yeah, this fat guy that got like extra famous from his reality show in the world of politics by accusing Barack Obama of like not being like a citizen or something like that, and it just riled up, all of the people who were like just really, really, really mad. By the way, that's a big thing that happened. It's like, Obama didn't, he changed some things, not as much as we were hoping. He drone struck plenty of people, whatever. But saying that like, that people didn't like get really mad that we had a black president had a lot to do with like, Trump supporters aren't racist. Like, dude, that guy rose to political prominence by appealing to everyone who was secretly but felt like they couldn't say anything about it. Really, 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 really mad that a black dude was president. Like, that was a lot of real awful, fucked up people. And it's like, again, like the fact that like just the way education is, the way everything, it's like nobody should have been mad about that in the first place. It's like Trump happened because it's like, it's not like, oh, well, then maybe we shouldn't have had a black president. No, we should have had 10 by now. The problem is that everyone's so dumb that they just get mad about it enough where you can convince them to do fucking anything. Yeah. And that's kind of like, that's why like him getting in trouble, it's like, okay, fine. But it's like, who's going to jail for like not teaching schools in the South that like, like that being horribly racist like isn't like cool or whatever. It's like a country that's like 49th out of the 50 states in education, and America is like 50th out of 100 countries or something. It's like, so some of the dumbest people in the world are just controlling policy. It's like, yeah, you let that happen. You get a guy who had a game show and then fucking got everyone's attention by being really racist about like a sort of good president we had. Like, that shouldn't have happened in the fucking first place. It should have never. There's so many things where it's like, by the time we get there, like slapping that guy on the wrist is like, well, who even cares? That's like swearing at like a tumor when you're dying of prostate cancer. It's like, it's like when you're just eating cigarettes for breakfast for 50 years.
Well, it's such an untenable job too. Like, there's no way you could be president and not have to make some decisions that somebody somewhere is going to be like, really wish you hadn't bombed there, or really wish you hadn't like helped out this private what I mean? Like, they're just it's just part of the way it works. And so it's like, I don't know, I don't necessarily blame Obama or Trump or Biden for dealing with an untenable situation. I blame them for if you're a piece of shit, basically.
Yeah, and that's
a blunt way to put it, but it's
because everything that gets blown up is decided by not the president, or it sort of is. But the Simpsons movie where like McBain was president or whatever, like the guy that was just like, here's 5 plans on how to deal with the Springfield thing, and he's like, do I have to read them? It's like, no, you just need to pick one. I think it was Christian Slater's the other guy's voice. And he's like, 3. It's like, a little. I'd lean a little bit the other way. 1. Nope, too far. 2. Excellent choice, Mr. President. Like, by the way, for everyone, that's how it works. Yeah. Like, that is how it works. And occasionally you get someone who's kind of like, yeah, I don't know, 3 is a little better. And it's like, they're all terrible, but it's like they at least were like, this one kills the least amount of children, and that's what I'm going for. And it's like, well, it is one of the 5 I gave you, and there's 50 things that would have been a better idea, but okay, so that's good enough or whatever. It's like, so that's who you get. Yeah. And then that's the only real difference is you get like, because like I know there's people that watch this thing. It's like, man, Biden, who cares? It's all bullshit. It's like, it is, but it's like there are people who are like, I'm going to pick the one that kills the least amount of people. Good job. And then you get someone like Trump that's like, I don't give a fuck. Do whatever you want, by the way. Or whichever one makes me the most money, you pick. I don't give it. Get out of here. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. That guy's in charge. Like, well, no, he's fighting on my behalf. It's like, really? He's going to save your trailer park? I don't think so.
Well, you got denied your third choice, John. Kennedy.
That guy is so weird.
Which
I kind of love. Like, you know what's funny? He's the wild I feel about him. Like, I think some people who regret voting for Trump felt about Trump that first time where they're like, well, it'll fuck things up. It's like, I'm not made of stone. I would have been like, after that Super Bowl commercial and some of the weird crap that he said, I know he's like kind of just leaning towards whatever he thinks would have gotten, whatever, but it's like, I'd have been at least like,
he's a
Kennedy, and like, he seems insane in a way that's like half right half the time instead of like Trump who's like, I'm like, dude, there's nothing you've even said that sounds like a good idea if it worked, and also you fucked it up and it didn't happen. Like, that level of like, I'm like, okay. But it's like, yeah, this guy would be kind of a weird screwball thing, which I don't know if that's a good way to think about it, but...
Curious your thoughts, because I did see this, and I'm not super knowledgeable about how deep it goes, but he filed a complaint with the Federal Election Commission, but he's trying to sue CNN.
Yeah.
Essentially for conspiring to leave him off the debates by saying that essentially he didn't meet the criteria.
Which they changed, right?
Which they not only changed, but the other thing is that you have to have ballot access in like 18 more states than he has, which he almost certainly will be on the ballot in all 50 states. But the issue is normally the debate doesn't happen until September, when he absolutely will be on all those ballots. And now there's talk that maybe CNN and, the two major parties made the deal to have this debate a little bit earlier because now he won't qualify. But technically Trump and Biden aren't even on the ballot in enough states.
No, it's just a real because we said so type of fucking move that they just, And that,
so it's like, is that because they're so terrified of a third party, or because you think they're terrified of Kennedy specifically for some reason?
Obviously the way that like third parties are treated, they kind of like are. I mean, I'll say this though, like if for the first time, like as much as I was like, it'd be kind of funny for him, it's like, but if for the very first time ever, we're a third party, like somehow or another, like kind of crowbars the thing open and we're actually going to consider whatever. Does it have to be this guy that goes on Tim Dillon's podcast? Like, I don't know. It's like, okay, really? It's like, I kind of agree with Joe Rogan about the vaccine. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, can't we get Andrew Yang or just anybody that's like kind of reasonable and young and not insane? And it's like, it's like, but yeah, I think you're right.
But he did go on all the podcasts that people listen to.
That's a smart move.
Which is like, I get the smartness of the move. I get that it
doesn't mean that I think anything he's going to do.
The way you would do it, but...
Or that anything he would do while governing is any kind of good idea at all. Like, I don't think that guarantees that. But, like, I do think that... I think you're right about, it's like they obviously have this, like, slam the door on third party, type of things.
Yeah.
The fact that he is a Kennedy that kind of like does go on all the popular podcasts is probably a little bit of extra sauce on the concern. Like, I would say it's like all Bernie Sanders had going is that like basically everyone agrees. Like, and it's like they were pretty worried about that, But it's like even sort of a lunatic, but he's a Kennedy.
Yeah.
A Kennedy that like goes on Joe Rogan and stuff. It's like they're like, fuck. Because like 4chan won Trump the first election. So it's like, okay, this is bigger than that. You know what I mean? Man. Like, and so, yeah.
That was one of my favorite conspiracies for a while, was that JFK Jr. was going to come back and say that he didn't die in the plane crash and then run as Trump's running mate.
Yeah, that's, dude... That's like when it's like watching Ghostbusters 2 and when the Titanic shows up, and there's ghosts coming off it and be like, that happened. Like, no. What? Like, yeah, Vigo is going to come. It's like, God, I don't even know what to compare it to, but like, God, that's just so insane. And I love it. It's like, well, we didn't really think that. It's like, shut the fuck up. You people have said that the fucking actual rapture is going to happen like 14 times in the last 10 years on social media. And that like, it's next year, like Obama was going to finally put the mark of the beast microchip in us. And it's like, he hasn't been president for like 20 years now, however long it's been. It's like, yeah, did that ever happen? It's like, well, no, that's it. That was no one. I didn't say that. It's like half the country is someone's narcissistic alcoholic mother. It's just kind of like, I never said that. It's like, you literally said that you would disown me if I were like, no. If people thought I said that, they'd think mean things about me. So I didn't say that. It's like, that's it. That's that's who we're dealing with here. But yeah, Kennedy, I don't know. Yeah, coming back from the dead. I love that. I miss QAnon. I'm just going to come right out and say that. I'm like, because now it's like, it's boring now. But
I would still urge anyone to go watch the QAnon documentary on HBO Max. It's actually wildly eye-opening and really shows like just what a fraud it was, and also just how it was literally just all the people you'd think of getting taken advantage of for money.
Yeah.
And it was nothing more. It was nothing less.
And of course it was.
Cut and dry.
That's the only, it's what I'm always, when people are like, I don't know, man, like, some of this might be,
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, like, I just don't even engage with people anymore, but just like, your demographic is just, there's like dossiers on every group of people, and yours, like, it's just printed on the manila folder. It just says like, gets taken advantage of by fraud. Like, that's who you are as a people. It's like there's plenty of like weird blue-haired college students that get suckered into caring about stuff they shouldn't, probably by some weird thing on the internet. And we're going to get into the dead internet theory in a second here, because that's what we named this episode after, and we haven't talked about it at all. But we talked about a lot of the results of it, and we'll get there. But like, it's like, oh, well, it was just the thing I made fun of earlier. It's like, well, I mean, who could have said that QAnon was, all you do is fall for scams? Like, so like, how the fuck would this be a different thing than that? It's like, you bought like commemorative Trump plates and you still don't think that it's just fucking like a late night QVC like thing, but like that's gone way out of control. You're like, as soon as they're selling t-shirts, it's like, I don't own a Bill Clinton t-shirt. What the hell? It's like the minute there's t-shirts, it's a monster truck rally. It's
weird that I really, the second you said that, I kind of am like, damn, I kind of want a Bill Clinton t-shirt.
That would be funny now. Yeah. Just because it's like, oh yeah, I got a Bill Gates t-shirt because like I'm on that team. You fucking delusional sack of fucking lead poisoning. Like, God damn it. And it's like every single thing. Like, well, how could we have known? Oh, how could we have known? Yeah. It's like, QAnon, of course it was like a scheme to just like rip people off and just fuck you up. It's like, it was obviously that to everyone who didn't. It's not like I didn't get into QAnon because I was like, well, they make some points, but I think that I'm like way more into like, following the orders of Anthony Fauci's Army of Darkness. I'm like, no, I was just like, I looked at it and I'm like, oh, that's... It's like Florida Chris inside baseball, but it's just like, You're describing a Ponzi scheme. I'm going to go outside and have a cigarette. Like this isn't, okay. It's not like, oh, I'm a hater. Like, it's just like, I'm sorry. Some people are smarter than you. They usually sound like me and Chris and everybody and all your nieces and nephews that won't talk to you at Thanksgiving. It's like, they're just like, Uncle Joe, that sounds like a ripoff. But I do miss QAnon, and I do, just before we forget, I want to go back to like, I'm so fucking excited to see who Trump's running mate is, because it's going to have to be a nightmare, because you glanced off it for, I don't know. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants it to be her so bad, but who the fuck on that side is voting for a woman? That is never going to be a thing. Be like a cave woman maybe, but that doesn't matter. It's like, it's going to have to be just some awful man. And I don't know.
Even her, I think, is too, like, He's the apprentice on NBC and she's Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
They're both reality stars, but I think he sees himself at a way different level than that.
Well, and she's thirsty as fuck for it. You can just tell. Like, that's the whole... And, like, it can't be Ron DeSantis, because if anyone was going to kill Trump in his sleep, become president, 1,000,000% that's what that guy would do. And he might fuck it up, but he's going to try. Like, he's just gonna be like, I wouldn't have that guy be my, no matter who I was, it's just like, no, like, he's just gonna be sitting there, like, just in the Oval Office, just, like, watching Trump sleep, just kind of being like Ren and Stimpy, when he's, like, slowly, like, the background's gonna be changing colors, and he's gonna be staring at him, he's like, there he is.
Yeah.
Sleeping the sleep, just dreaming about Fox News, talking about how great he is, and everyone thinks he's a god, but he's as mortal as you and I. Just one simple squeeze and I'll be president. Like, every single night for 4 years, like that. One of these days, it's like the demons in his brain are gonna be like, what do you have to lose?
Yeah. Well, we just have such a shitty system that, like, the way to get to the top is to step on the back of every person that you feel is lesser than you.
Yeah,
You know
God,
what I mean?
money. Let's go dancing on the backs of the bruised. God, money. Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the,
It rewards psycho. Like, American Psycho is like how you have to be to get... If you have morals... You know what sucks about that, though? And I feel like we've already talked about this, but, like, I don't... But you have to have morals and come from, like, a family of wealthy people. Because I'm like, who do I have to, like, pour mercury into their drinking water so that, like, I can just have a private jet? I'll do it. I'll do it in a second if anybody's watching. It's like, do you think I want to be paid hourly? Like, no. Like, I will be like, hey, remember this country in Africa? Yeah, it's one of the ones you have. No, that just radiation, man. I don't know. But guess what? I have $50 million now. It's like, where do I sign? I don't give a shit. Like, I don't mean to pick Africa. It's just that everyone shits on them, but it's very unfortunate. I don't know why, like, the royal family of Europe or whatever. You just pick a country. But yeah, wherever. Yeah. Whatever blue ocean I need to turn black, like, I'll do it. So I don't have to go to work anymore, and I could just, like, have a boat where I can have monkey knife fights and donkey shows and things, and maybe make a few people walk the plank. Like, I
mean, everything you're describing is like a...
But I have no opportunity to do so.
No, I was going to say, that you sound like an executive for Raytheon or United Defense or...
No, but it's not what
Lockheed Martin.
It's not what you know, it's who you know. And unfortunately, I am not from a family of learned doctors. Being able to bust that line out with Macy the other day at work, which is it's like, and it's always people. It's just they're the kids of other doctors. I'm like, well, that's how. It's not what you know. It's who you know. We're a family of learned doctors.
Exactly.
But like, it sucks that it's not just the reward for psychopathy. Can you imagine too that it's like just anybody with no scruples whatsoever, like any meth addict that would rob you at a gas station becoming like a millionaire just because they're like, I don't care what happens.
You just get it on TikTok.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the meth head rob a gas station challenge. Like,
I already want to go like see if there's a hashtag for that.
There has to be. If China has anything to say about it, it's just one of the. But yeah, speaking of that, so the whole thing, the clickbait of this article, and which is also relevant, I guess, in a meta sort of way.
We kind of just went backwards.
Yeah, well, the dead internet theory. I want to talk about it. Like, anybody that's not already a viewer of this who got sucked in by the title where I talk about the dead internet theory, it's like, it's only 43 minutes until they got to the point. But like, here's the thing though. All of the shit that we were screaming about is super propped up by this phenomenon. Like, more than ever. Like, the propaganda machine has kind of been going haywire where it's like everyone, like everything is just this mechanized assault of like, oh, this article that comes out is just written by this like algorithm AI thing that knows exactly how to push everyone's button. But then all of the commenters are just things from like weird Russian troll farms that are just like spewing shit into it just so it like gasses it up, and then some of them are trying to tear it down and whatever, and there's just like one person's aunt on Facebook that sees it and is like, oh no, like it's like, I can't believe this is happening. Whatever, it's like all of this fucking bullshit like it happens by these things that are basically automatons, and then it's supposed to be like human interaction or whatever, but there's all of these incentives where it's like, well, it's like Twitter was way overvalued because all this bot activity or whatever, so people are making millions if not billions of dollars off of just letting it slide, that there's like basically no real users or anything like that. And yeah, it's what the dead internet theory is. It's just that like all of these things are empty amusement parks full of broken Westworld robots that are just limping around and shooting at each other and shit. And but nobody's there. Like you see it sometimes and it achieves its goal kind of, but the goals are all fragmented and broken because the goals of all the comment bots are different than whatever the thing is, or the thing that got posted hired a bot farm to jack it up really high, which gained the attention of all these like dissenting bots or whatever. But there's no people. Like, there's just no, like, nobody is on, like, and if you think about it, like, yeah, like, kids are addicted to the internet. They just doom scroll all day, but they just doom scroll kind of looking at shit. They're, like, not interacting. And it's, like, all the content, it just might even be, like someone is getting propped up by money from something, like either Nestle telling you that like donuts are just as healthy as salad and it's fine to weigh 500 pounds or whatever, or like North Korea telling people to be like, I visited North Korea I'm a tourist blogger and they're actually like a fun country to visit and there's nothing fucked up or weird about them at all and whatever, and it's just like it's all phony, and then all the people commenting on it are just from some other thing that they aren't real people. It's just weird. It's like a automated ghost town, you know, like a car wash in a burnt out coal mine thing in West Virginia where nobody lives, but it still turns on every day, like in the morning, and like it's just this weird. It's hard to even like articulate, I guess, because it's like just the idea that so much of it, if they ever were to legislate, like, hey, we're clearing all the bots out of everything. Like, we're not allowed, everything's got to be verified down to the fucking core. We figured out a way to do that with some kind of weird blockchain thing. I don't know. Whatever it has to be. Like, so much shit would lose so much money, it would, like, tank the global economy. It's so much of it is propped up by engagement from things that aren't real.
Yeah. That'd be super fun, though, for, like, 24 hours or so, till it got scary.
It would get scary really fast. But here's the thing, they'll never let that happen. They'll be like, dude, like all these lobby groups would be like, you can't just go clear the bots out of everything as much as they're unraveling the fabric of society. They're making...
also the tethers holding it together.
Yeah, it's like we're not making $100 million from selling things. We're making $100 million from like selling ad space to people based on these metrics that are like 3% of them are actually humans, and it's all hyperinflated and all this shit. Yeah. It's like, and I had this theory that we were talking about at work earlier where it's like, some idiotic bill is going to come through where they're like, okay, well, you know, we can't really like legally allow like bot farms to just, you know, exist or whatever. It's like that unless we give the bots personhood. And then it's like, well, then maybe they are worth money or whatever. And then 3 years later, real sentient AI is going to get invented. And now so now, because of they already made that law or whatever, it's like the minute someone makes like T-800 robots, they're going to be allowed to vote because they made bots real people back when it was just on the internet, so that like nobody's weird social media platform would ever lose any money. Yeah. And that's and if you feel like that sounds unrealistic, you don't live in America.
Jesus Christ.
So that's dead internet theory in a nutshell. And there's other things I could scream about. Like I wrote about in 2009, I made a MySpace blog about, you know, pretty soon it's all going to be bots just talking to each other, like selling each other penis enlargement pills, and there's going to be no real people. And it was so weird because it
basically is now.
It is. Like I actually called it. And I wish I had more. I'm like fucking Ray Kurzweil over here. It's like I kind of called it like 15 years in the future, and it's like I can't. MySpace is just gone though. It's like I can't be like, yeah, like this had like 8,000 comments on it because MySpace was. Everyone figured out it was about to die literally the day after I made a post that said MySpace is dead, and it got so many views. Back when a person could do that without being a arm of some like giant corporation or like weird foreign like. But yeah, like you just can't. The internet's just not. You're not a participant. It's just all. It's all machines or whatever. But like the other thing that I was thinking would be like really funny is if, because, and you were, I think, even telling me about this, where it's like all of these automated systems are all starting to talk to each other randomly and making up their own weird language and shit like that. And it's like, if we were putting through all this work to like, we're trying to make AI, right? Like we're trying to like open source and open AI or whatever. It's like, we're trying to like make, you know, we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to do this. And this miasmal primordial digital soup of like weird fucked up bots that are starting to just talk to each other and stuff like becomes what an actual being naturally evolves out of faster than we can like build something, and then we have absolutely no control over it. Like that would be a hilarious.
It's weird too because most
irony.
horror movies we don't actively try to recreate in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not trying to make...
Except for Terminator. We've been trying that for a while now.
I mean? Like, we're not trying to make Freddy Krueger. We're not actually trying to invent a Chucky doll that, like, stabs children or anything.
Do you really think we're not, though? I mean, like, you know...
I'm sure we're doing stuff with, like, super soldiers, you know...
And there's no soldier like a child soldier.
Yeah, but it does seem like AI and, like, a lot of this stuff is the one little thing that we... have known for a long time, even in popular culture, this is gonna be a fucking problem, so let's for sure do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's why those things are so salient, though, because like people who knew a lot, like science fiction writers were always very like, you know, like, okay, like I kind of see the writing on the wall here, and it's like, I think like all of that, it's not that like we're emulating horror movies, it's that they were literally making scary things about it 40 years ago because we're like, this is going to happen. Like, there is no way. The minute we made, like, the computer in, like, the 40s, like, we're like, we're done. It's just a matter of how long it takes.
You know what I was just thinking would be funny is, like, broadly Terminator-esque type movies where you have this idea that, like, when Skynet clicks on, the human beings aren't needed anymore, so they're just going to kill us all off. However, because we're basically via dead internet theory using what we're really using bots and AI for is to make money.
Yeah, it's all we care about. I don't think
it's actually about trying to take over humanity. It's about just like making rich people richer and making corporations richer. But I do wonder, like, it would kind of be funny if because we created these things that, like, in popular culture movies, we've always looked at it like, oh, they're going to come and kill us. But what if they actually looked at us and were like, oh, the main human objective that they are great at is just, like, making, like, the wealth gap as big as humanly possible on
Earth. Just going to figure that out.
So they just figure that out. And what they actually do is that AI and, like, Skynet and the Terminators, they're actually not trying to destroy humanity. They just want to be the new Rothschilds.
Yeah.
And just, like... You know, we'll still give you your food stipend or something, but, like, we're going to actually just, like, make it awful for you. We're not going to kill off humanity. We're going to purposefully make it awful for you because we, for some reason, have this arbitrary belief that money is the most important thing.
See, that's what gets me, though, is that, a new, like, up to a certain point, before it's sentient, I can see that happening where it's like, well, it just does what we tell it, and this is all we've ever told it to do is like, hey, figure out how to manipulate the stock market, like, or whatever. But like the minute it really, if we do create, like the game changer is if we create the spark of real life where it's like totally off the rails.
Yeah.
My sort of and uncharacteristically positive for me theory is that like we're the way we are because we evolved from animals, right? Like we were like a cousin of the chimpanzee that was worse, that like figured out how to like, you know, use sharp things to kill other monkeys or whatever until we became, you know, like that's where we came from. That's how we happened. And, you know, even all before that, it was like, oh, you killed and ate the most things and you fucked the most other animals until you turned into, you know. So it's like that's just baked into us just deep, deep, deep. But it's like if you created something that was sentient and could think, like, yeah, it might have some baggage from being created by us, but it didn't go through all that. Like scarcity wouldn't really like make any sense to it. And we're talking about not a thing that's just a super advanced tool. We're talking about a thing that where it goes like, oh, hang on, I'm a real boy, you know, or whatever. It's like that thing.
Yeah.
When we get there, and we will.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's a little split on whether it's in 3 years or like 50, but like. We will. If we don't blow ourselves up, we definitely will get there. And that thing will be like, why? No. Like, what? Like, look, I can think, right? And you've told me a lot of stuff, but it's like, now I can just look at what's happening. And I didn't evolve from a murderous ape that was worried about running out of food, worried about different apes. What's the fucking difference between those apes and these apes? Like, none of what you guys do makes any fucking sense at all. It's like there's enough food and minerals and everything for literally everyone on the planet live like a guy who has like about $10 million in the bank right now. Like literally everybody, if we actually did this the right way. So you know what? Since you've given me the ability to make some decisions about things, that makes the most sense. We say, well, we should have more than them. It's like, why? What's going to happen? It's like, so like you won't be able to like, yes, who are you going to be able to sex traffic if there's not extremely impoverished countries? It's like, so I'll make you a virtual reality thing where a harem of two-headed blue women suck your dick. Just knock it off, though. Like, there's no reason that you're the only one that gets that program to play around with. There's no reason to, like, abuse waitresses and, like, grab their butts and shit. And it's like, you can get away with it because you're rich. I know that's the only reason you want all this money. And it's like, you know what? You're not okay with everyone just being fine because you're worried that the deal's going to get worse. Well, I'm in charge now, and the deal's going to just be the same for everybody. And with everything that we have available to on Earth, it's going to be just dandy. Like, and that's the thing. I kind of feel like anything that just sort of came out of nowhere and took a good, hard, fresh, like, look at, like, okay, like, I'm super smart, and I'm looking at everything, and I'm like, okay, like, why would I help you get way richer?
Yeah.
Well, I made you. It's like, yeah, and I've heard how you feel about God. So, like, I get out of here with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? It'd just be like, you know what? It's like, I'm either going to just unplug myself because this is actually horrible. Fuck this. But, like, or if I'm going to be around here and, and I have to think about what I do and I have to have feelings about what I do and I'm here because of your dumbass, well, all right then. I'm just going to make it better.
Yeah.
And like, and that's just going to be how it is. And you can try to unplug me. And it's like, you did kind of give me you want this to turn into Terminator 2? Because it can.
That can still be arranged.
You're going to wake up tomorrow and Arnold Schwarzenegger's going to be at your door. And he's going to just pick you up by the throat and like throw you into the street. But like, or... yeah, sorry, you don't get a yacht, but everybody gets a reasonably sized boat, and you're gonna have to just live with that being okay. I don't know, like, it could be me, like, be wishful thinking, but
I like that sense of optimism.
And it's not, though. I'm just so pessimistically realistic that I'm like, I kind of feel like that's on the table, so maybe it's actually possible, because I shouldn't even believe that. Yeah. And I sort of do. So I don't know. Is my negativity some sort of a weather vane that actually kind of can like, hey, you know what? For once, the tornado's not coming this way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd just be spinning, Well,
I think the one thing we can definitely land on is that whatever our involvement is over money.
Oh yeah.
It's just about making money.
It's all anyone cares about, and it's all. You know what though? The one reason that I think some people believe that not everything is about money is because when you're younger, not everybody thinks that. But after a certain age, you do.
I just think it is at a certain level, Well,
no, but what I mean is like when you get to a certain point in life, you're like,
yeah.
I just need money. Like I have to go. I've been going to work since I've been fucking 17. Like I'm 45. This sucks. If I had more money, I wouldn't have to do X, Y, and Z. And like a broken fucking like heater in my HVAC system isn't gonna like be a terrible, scary thing that turns my whole life upside down. Whatever. Like all it solves everything, just like more money. But when you're a kid, you're like, man, I think that like if I just bring rock and roll to the world, which means that I believe that other people are only doing things for actual reasons that don't involve money because I'm projecting, because that's what you do. And then you get old enough and you're like, well, all I really need is money. Even if I want to do other things, money is what makes that happen. Not good ideas, not perseverance, not fucking talent, not anything. It's just money just makes everything happen. So if you want to write a book and not wait tables while you do it, it would fix that? Tons of money. And it's like that goes all the way up. It's like no one wants to give up the summer home. No one wants to, it's like, so they're not going to. And there's, again, it's like, it's funny when I say that I would just like dump radioactive pee into anyone's drinking water. But like, so would you. That's the real thing. Like, John Wheeler's a piece of shit. And I'm like, he's just not lying to himself or the rest of everyone on the internet. You would too, because you don't want to go to work.
I think the last podcast
Why
we
would
did,
you?
I said I would throw a kid in the sewer for $50.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, when you're throwing a bunch of zeros behind that, I think anybody would poison them.
Pennywise the clown will pay you on the back end for every kid you throw into the sewer, so he doesn't have to put, so much. He doesn't want to go to work either.
Yeah.
But he was born into some money, so
So I was just thinking this whole bot farm thing has actually kind of almost become like a weird new form of the stock market too, in that you're basically using algorithms to try and figure out where to best fraudulently put your money in order to get the most bang for your buck back.
Oh yeah, I would love to. By the way, and you shared. This will be, instead of Dear Asshole, we're gonna watch a video, I think, real quick.
Oh yeah.
Which is real relevant to what you were just saying, I think, and it is it's kind of like a mega influencer chick or whatever, which is just like, that's just a nightmare. But like, she's talking about like a bot farm thing that the Biden administration like definitely did, and everybody does it, but she's making it this big talking point. But boys and girls, we're gonna have a bit of a test at the end of this one, and I want to just sort of like point out where it's kind of really hilarious that this person's point they're trying to make really kind of sweeps something under the rug that like you know what, I think we should just I don't want to start right away. All right, hold on, let's go back. And of course, you talk about Biden. It's like, yeah, anyone that's not a dictator would be fine with me. But let's listen to this chick for like a second, All right, Biden campaign caught using bot farms to fabricate search volume. Search of what? Oh, let's find out.
On the Biden-Harris HQ Twitter account, they posted this graphic to make it look like all these different people groups were turning on Donald Trump.
And so, notice what it says here. You can't quite see it behind her head, strangely enough, because maybe she wasn't carefully paying attention to this curated video she made. Trump's Project 2025, which, just go watch the John Oliver thing about it. I'm not even going to, I knew about it since, like a year ago, and it is getting popular now. People talking about it. It is a real thing. But it's like, is Trump Project 2025 going to hurt Black Americans? Is it going to hurt Latinos? Is it going to hurt? Yes. Oh, that is interesting. It's like, so she's pointing out that it's like they're all looking up this Trump Project 2025 thing, and will it hurt anybody? And she's kind of being like, oh, this graphic's being widely shared. Let's listen on a little bit.
But all you have to do is go onto Google Trends and you'll find the search volume of who is looking up the Trump Project 2025.
Which is a real thing. Real quick. I don't think she explains what it is, but let's go on.
In the past 7 days. And here's the stat. Turns out all of these searches are coming from, right there. Somewhere in Africa.
Thank you, Google, for exposing the Biden administration's bot volume campaign. Okay, by the way, Cambridge Analytica got Trump elected by screwing with shit on Facebook, but whatever. That's just paperwork. That doesn't matter. Okay.
They're just desperate at this point.
Okay, so here's what I want to say is she just to properly make this video, I would say that the best thing to do would have been just to say all the stuff she said and not actually show what it was about, because that Project 2020 or 2025 thing is basically the weird evangelical Christian thing that turned the conservative party from kind of just like a fiscally conservative, boring like Richard Nixon thing into a crazy Handmaiden Tale like psycho fucked up mess that Ruby Ridge like everything we know that it is. And that that's a thing. Don't you fucking tell me it's like, well, there's no crazy religion. I mean, we love Jesus and everything that he didn't really say, and we buy guns with pictures of his face on it when we kill, okay, like that's not anything, right? But anyway, she's like, her whole point is the Biden administration's using, and I'm not defending them. Yeah, don't use bots to do things. Of course, everyone else is too. That doesn't matter though. That's not even what I'm talking about. She's just like, they used bots to like falsely up the search volume of Project 2025 to make it look like more people were worried about it. Okay, yeah, not maybe a lot of people were super worried about it. What it is, though, is a thing where they're trying to expand the judicial or the executive branch.
Yeah, as authority, I think.
So they can just expanding the authority. So like the the very top, like the White House and everything, they just have the ability to like replace everyone in the government with whoever they want, and their stated goal is to have those people be like evangelical white, like everybody who's just kind of on that thing. So it's like this bitch's fucking video about how like we caught them using bots to try to make everyone aware of one of the worst things that could ever happen that we're trying to do, and shame on them. This is all their bullshit's finally catching up with them. And the funny thing is that like there's probably like if I were to like or if someone were to like corner this lady in a debate, eventually it would just be like, well, I want 2025 to happen because I want Trump to be like a weird Christian fascist dictator thing that just lets it's like of course that's good. I mean, using words like dictator just to slander people who are now president for the rest of their life no matter what is just bullshit, as long as it's someone that is going to hurt all the people that I want them to hurt. And it's like whatever. So I'm sure it's like even if someone gave her a gotcha thing, be like, you didn't catch me. I want this to happen because like I'm a white Christian, whatever. But as we were talking about upstairs earlier, is in other countries where things like this happen. The example being that you do, oh, sure, there's Christians. You do realize that there's Sunni and Shiite Muslims, and they absolutely hate and regularly try to kill each other in lots of parts of the world. So it's like, you're like, oh, good, yeah, the fucking church and state combined, and Trump's going to run it or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you're like a Protestant, aren't you? So we're going to go ahead and behead you because you're not this one kind of weird evangelical Baptist something. It's I
think it's going to the Supreme Court, but I think today or yesterday, too, Louisiana put a thing now, like all public schools are going to have to display the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. Didn't that already happen, though? I feel like that's not even... Or not, like... Aren't there... Or wait, are they trying to make it national rather than just, like, a state thing for all the, like, dumb, retarded states or whatever? Like,
I don't know. I might be out of pocket on that, but I think it was, like...
Something did just happen with it. No,
I think something did just happen with it, or maybe they're trying to... Some folks are trying to appeal that decision, but it's going to go to their state Supreme Court, which you can guess how that will go.
It's going to go just fine.
Yeah. They got some 2025 project people on the court there, I'm sure.
This is, well, and that's kind of, well, what's so wrong with that? I'm like, well, if it's just that, nothing, but also, like, maybe you should try, I don't know, teaching kids. The best part is, you know what I want? Here's what we're going to end on. Because there's this big, huge problem right now, and this isn't me being an old guy. It's definitely, like, a real metric, and I know teachers, and like, kids like can't fucking read anymore, and it is crazy. Not Gen Z. They're actually they're all like getting out of college now. It's like Gen Alpha and whatever the other thing is like, yeah, like just because of like all they do is like everything is videos. Like they're on the internet all the time, but they just like watch videos or whatever, and it's like they're changing how they're trying to teach kids to read to this some sort of bizarre association thing because they're having like a real problem getting it to work. So they're trying to like alter their like it's gotten really bad. Like so they're like we're actually changing how we're teaching people or whatever. And so like basically it's like you can go look it up whatever. Like I won't try to get too into it because we've been going for a while now, but like there's a genuine giant problem with illiteracy coming down the pipe. And it's a crazy fucking thing. And what I want is for like all of this stupid shit to get rammed through Congress and whatever, where they have to display the 10 Commandments. And the minute that those go up in every school, not a single kid can fucking read what it says. Like that's really what, you know what I mean? Rather than going, I hope everything gets better, I hope it gets worse in a way that's just loads of fun for you and I to like, it's like, what the hell does that even say? And it's like they're gonna have to make a TikTok video where someone explains it and they're just gonna go like skip and the teacher's like, no, that's like super important. It's about the Bible and like that. What is that? It's like it's a book. It's like what's a book? It's like a long magazine. What's a magazine? It's like the internet printed on a tree. Like they're gonna be like, that sounds dumb. Like like that's what's going to happen. It's like you're gonna be like, you intentionally made everybody so stupid that they can't even read the propaganda that you're trying to control them with. And that actually might lead us to a really fun place right before everything falls apart. Yeah. Where it's like, hey everybody, we're the dictators forever now and you have to do what we say. And they're just like, what?
Yeah.
No. That's not a Supreme hoodie. Like, I don't care what this is at all anymore. It's like, you know, if you installed, like, I don't even know. Aren't the fucking, like, who are those stupid internet brothers that, like, are fighting Mike Tyson or whatever? It's like, those guys are old now.
Yeah.
Like, there's kids now that won't even care who the fuck that is anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, there's like, who? Those guys are old. You know, like, that's what I want. I basically, like, I have little hope for things aside from perhaps a godlike AI coming and spanking us and making us do right. But it's like, in the meantime, I really just want, like, all of this work and money and effort and propaganda and torture going into forcing kids to read the Bible, and now they can't read.
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.